Hey guys, Yankee here, and today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on One Piece Volume 35. So, last volume ended off, we had a lot of stuff going on. Robin has wandered off, and nobody knows where she's gone. The Going Merry, Luffy, Nami, and Usopp went to Gallilock Company to repair the Merry, and were told that it can't be fixed. Usopp, who was hanging on to two briefcases full of money, has been taken, and we don't know where he is. And yeah, this volume picks up at the Gallilock Company with people explaining to Luffy what's wrong with the Merry, why it can't be fixed, and why it is best for them to just sort of pick up a new ship. So basically, the problem with the Merry is that the keel of the ship is broken, and the keel is basically like the first piece of a ship put down, and then everything is built on top of that. So the only way to repair the Merry would be to tear the whole thing apart, get a new keel, and basically build a new ship anyway. And there's even a part in this where Luffy is willing to do that, just build us a new Going Merry, and I think it's Lucci explains, like, look, we can build you a ship that's similar. We can't build you one that's exactly the same because, like, little details will be off. We can get it as close as we can, but, like, there's no pieces of wood that are ever going to be the same, so it's not going to be identical. And you're the ones that are going to be noticing that the most. So instead of, setting sail on a replica of the ship you had before, like, it'll never be the same. So probably should just get a new ship, basically. And then Luffy, Nami realize that their money's gone, and Usopp's gone, and they go off looking for him. Nami eventually finds Usopp, and he has been beaten, the money's been stolen, and Usopp is ashamed. He even says as much. It's like, I can't face everybody else. We needed that money to fix the Going Merry. He was absent during the whole speech about her being fixed, so he's under the, he thinks that at this point, if he can't get that money back, they can't fix the Merry, even though she's already too far gone. So Nami runs back to the Merry to get everybody else to come get the money back and send Chopper to get Usopp. Usopp doesn't wait around. He charges off towards the Franky family and Franky, and he bursts in. He gets a couple attacks off, but is ultimately beaten by Franky, and then the Franky family just wallops him. And eventually, Luffy, Chopper, Sanji, Zoro, searching for Usopp, end up at the Franky house and find Usopp unconscious, badly beaten, and they just walk into the Franky house and tear it down. And this is one of my favorite parts of this whole series, right? This fight is so good, where the money's gone, Franky's gone, the money doesn't matter anymore. They are there just to sort of, avenge Usopp, right? And it's great. It's barely even a fight. They wipe the floors with these guys, blow up the building, and then after the fight is done, as Luffy stands on the smoldering rubble that was the Franky house, he decides, we're going to leave the Going Merry here, we're going to get a new ship, and carry on. So, it was a tough decision, but Luffy made it. And now where everything falls apart. We get back to the Merry, Usopp wakes up, and Luffy has to tell Usopp about his decision, right? Going Merry, big deal for Usopp. It's from his hometown, it's from Kaya. He has been the one that's been fixing the ship a lot. Like, this ship and Usopp are deeply connected. And the way Luffy handles telling Usopp is just awful, in my opinion. The way he just sort of nonchalantly tells Usopp, yeah, we had a lot of fun on the Merry, it's time to get rid of her and just get a new one, without properly explaining to Usopp what's wrong first, I think really set the tone for this whole confrontation we have here. It was just poorly handled. Usopp was obviously going to be emotional. Again, the ship is very important to him specifically. It's important to everybody, but for Usopp, it's a big deal. And Luffy just handled it poorly, in my opinion. And then it escalates. Luffy almost slips up and tells Usopp that if he doesn't like the decision he's making, he should just leave, which Usopp sort of gets upset by that and says, like, look, the Mary's broken down, not really useful to you anymore, you're getting rid of her, get rid of me too. And at that point, it's sort of finished, isn't it? Usopp walks out, he challenges Luffy to a duel, and the winner gets the Mary. And then we get, like, a really great fight, right? This whole argument, like, especially when it gets down to Usopp saying, like, look, you're cutting off useless members, get rid of me too. Like, Usopp's really down on himself right now, thinking himself useless. And then we get a good fight that shows that, you know, with time and with knowledge, like, Usopp can do pretty good. He didn't actually end up doing a whole lot of damage to Luffy in this fight, even though he pulls out some, like, pretty big attacks. But again, this whole fight is just showing, like, Usopp is competent. With time and with planning, he can be really good. Like, I think the moment at the start where he pretends that he's injured and Luffy hesitates, like, as soon as Usopp bought himself just a little bit of time, like, he had a whole plan in motion, and, like, every attack to a certain point was setting up for that. And as soon as Luffy hesitated, like, that's all Usopp needed, and everything sort of fell into place. Like, the rotten egg that covers up the smell of the gas that he's filling the arena with, the caltrops that are on the ground that Luffy is falling into, like, all that stuff was, like, perfectly set up, and you can tell, like, Usopp came into this with a really strict plan, and I think if in that moment Luffy hadn't hesitated, I think the plan would have just not worked. Again, at the end, though, Luffy, even after being exploded, is not particularly injured and drops Usopp in just, like, a couple of hits. Luffy decides, alright, the fight's over, you lost, we're getting a new ship, take the Mary, do whatever you want, we're out of here. And that's that. Like, Usopp is left with the ship, the Straw Hats go to a hotel, and we just get, like, a really somber chapter after that, where, like, everybody's just, like, depressed. Sanji and Chopper decide to walk around town to try and find Robin. Nami rushes in to tell Luffy and them that Iceberg at Galila got shot in the night, and so Luffy and Nami head off to sort of investigate that. We have a big storm coming, the Aqua Laguna, like, while Chopper and Sanji are out wandering town, there's a warning siren blaring, telling people to get to high land. There's, like, basically a tsunami coming. And it's just a mess. Frankie gets back to his house, which has been destroyed. The Frankie family members tell him that it was the Straw Hat Pirates. So Frankie heads off to confront Luffy. And we get a bit of a fight between Luffy and Frankie outside of Galila. While inside, Iceberg is recovering from the assassination attempt on him, and he knows who his attackers were. One was a masked person, and the other was Nico Robin. We've seen in the past, I think it would have been last volume, or maybe it was even at the start of this, where in Iceberg's office there's a poster of Nico Robin, so he's obviously worried about her for something. The government has been harassing him for something. We don't know what it is, but there's mention of them wanting something in his possession. And then he gets shot by Nico Robin. And now Galila members are after the Straw Hats, and, like, there's, like, a three-way battle going on where it's, like, Frankie versus Luffy. Now the Galila people are coming to confront Luffy too. And it's just a mess. And that's where we leave off, with just complete chaos. Overall, this is a great volume. The Luffy and Usopp stuff is great. Everything with the Mary sucks, but is really well handled. We see Luffy having to make some, like, important decisions as the captain of this ship, which up until this point he hasn't really had to do much of. Like, Luffy's whole, like, the extent of Luffy being a captain at this point has just been, hey, I want this person to join my crew. And that's basically it. Everything else has been left up to other people. He doesn't really have much decision on what islands we go to, outside of like a couple of, like an instance in Alabasta where Robin gave him an eternal pose that sent them to Alabasta, which he destroyed because he's the captain. He makes the decision where we're going. But like, this is like the first time like he's actually having to make really difficult decisions as a captain, and it's just handled really well. SBS stuff, not a whole lot, and I think like this info that I want to talk about now has been stated before, but in the SBS, Oda basically goes over like the 3 types of devil fruits and what they each are. So there's Paramecia, which is superpowers, Logia, which is elements, and then Zone, which is animals, which I think this has been brought up in a previous volume, and I probably talked about it in one of these videos, but I couldn't remember, so I wanted to mention that. And then we still have the Gedatsu cover story going on, and it's, like, I don't know, it's not particularly interesting. It's just Gedatsu fell to Earth. Now he's helping some guy look for, like, a hot spring, I think, and he finds a giant mole who is considered, like, we've got this thing going where, like, Gedatsu fell to Earth. He is now the Sky Boss in the little subtitles. We've got this giant mole that can dig around. He is the Earth Boss. There's a part where we get to a forest and there's a big monkey. He is the Forest Boss, and they're just digging around looking for stuff. And Gedatsu is easily fighting these animals and winning. And that's it. Nothing particularly interesting in that cover story, at least not right now, and I really don't remember how it ends. But yeah. This is overall is a great volume, probably one of my favorites in the series, and it's just like really compelling stuff. This arc is my favorite for a reason, and I'm really excited to keep going through it again. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.